Alright, welcome back. In this video we're going to talk about the Democratic Party. Alright, so first we're going to start off with the Democratic Party coalition. So we're talking about the people, the different groups of voters that can typically be counted on to vote Democratic. So this idea, by the way, the word coalition, we're talking about people from different groups that usually might not have much in common, but they come together for a particular purpose. In this case, that purpose would be to elect Democrats. So you have here the list of the basic groups that the Democratic Party tends to do well with. Probably not much surprising on this list. They do well with younger voters between the ages of 18 to 44. They do well, again, on a racially diverse basis as well. So minorities tend to vote more for the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. Women are typically Democratic. Again, some of these aren't by huge margins. Women somewhere between 55 to 60% of the time they vote Democratic, depending on the exact election. LGBTQ supporters as well typically vote Democratic. That one's a little stronger. It's about 70% or so. Secular Americans, meaning non-religious, so those who describe themselves as atheists or agnostic, are overwhelmingly Democrats as well. When it comes to religious voters, Jewish and Muslim voters both tend to support the Democratic Party. Jewish voters pretty strongly, somewhere between 70 to 90%, depending on the election over the last 20 years or so. Before that, it was even higher. Muslim voters also overwhelmingly support the Democratic Party. And then with education, you see that there are two distinct groups here. Those with less than a high school diploma typically vote Democratic, and those with a postgraduate level of education overwhelmingly vote Democratic. So we're talking about people with the least amount of education and those with the most amount of education both typically support the Democratic Party. Those with a college education are somewhere in between, and that actually kind of breaks down more along gender and racial lines than anything else. So what you find is when you talk about having a bachelor's degree, white males with bachelor's degrees typically vote Republican, whereas women with bachelor's degrees or minorities with bachelor's degrees typically vote Democratic. Democrats also do particularly well with those in urban and city areas and those with an income of less than $50,000 a year. All right, and then so the next question is, what do Democrats believe in? What is their platform? Remember earlier we defined a party platform as being the list of issues, policy, goals of a political party. So here are some of the basic elements of the Democratic Party's platform as adopted in 2016. Remember, parties only adopt a new platform once every 4 years, so this is the most recent version of their platform. They were committed to decreasing defense spending, as well as increasing spending on public schools, whereas they don't support vouchers for private schools. So they want that money to go to public schools, increase education spending in that way, not giving those vouchers, which remember those are like coupons or discounts that you can use to help offset some of the cost of going to private school. Democrats don't support vouchers, but they do support more spending on public schools. They support increased social welfare programs, so things to help reduce income inequality, things to help the poor are typically supported by Democrats, as well as to help the elderly. They also, in their platform, support tax cuts, but specifically for lower and middle class Americans, whereas they endorse increasing taxes on wealthier Americans. Democrats support gun control measures, pro-choice policies, as well as more strict environmental regulations. So probably none of those are particularly surprising. Those pretty much line up with the liberal ideology for the most part. So that's basically the Democratic Party platform. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. This has been a La Money production.